All right, cool. Let's see. All right, so let's see. Playing out as we, kind of thought it would. I wasn't convinced, right? I'm not convinced by the distribution, right, from EU side, but here is more so technically accumulation, but I don't want to consider this accumulation. It's not very structured. To me, it looks more very corrective, and then just a change of trend. Um, but I mean, that's pretty much what we've been touching on for the past, what, 2 3 weeks? Yeah, since, or like 2 weeks. Um, so if I'm in a scenario here, right, where this is accumulation, right, we expect, right, the market to just trend, right? So if this was going the trend, right, break of structure, never reached a premium, which means there's a ton of liquidity sitting here, right? But then we created this higher high. I would have wanted, or expected that if we were going to get, a pullback, it would have been anywhere around here, right? Because anywhere here to me now is extremely deep, and any correction is just a premium in the counter fib here for a continuation. So I would have expected price to shift here, right? Anywhere here, because obviously you can see that candle took liquidity, right? We even gave a reaction, but the reaction so Joe, turn your camera off. So this correction, right, took out the initial intraday structure, but overall it was held, and all this was a premium, right? Premium continuation, right? Same thing, except this is very sloppy. Looks better on EU side. But for the most part, this momentum was very, very, how do I say, deceiving, right? Because that could be considered momentum, right, with a change of structure. But we got to look at the bigger picture, right? Structure isn't necessarily just about higher highs and higher lows, right? But sometimes it just simply is. Lower high, I mean lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? And why am I assuming this is now a structural point? Because it's pretty much playing based off of the narrative of this overall inefficiency fail here, right? So this reaction, right, should, in my opinion, should take out previous liquidity, right? There's always the possibility, right, that we can, where is this on the daily? Yeah. So you see this last wick took out the previous wick, right? So you could assume any type of SC in that relative zone. But, right, look at this strong Friday closure for one, two very strong weekly closure, right? We've already given the reaction here. And based off how much momentum is just coming to the downside, it doesn't seem very likely to me, right? But I'm still going to be, wary of this because this will probably hit, or anywhere here will probably hit. Probably New York. I mean, not New York, London Sunday night. But if we were to break here, what does that now mean? Right? That means we now are playing the narrative here, right? We've taken out this previous level of structure. We've taken out liquidity, meaning the bias is technically to the downside, right? This is now that lower high that's finishing off that lower low. So you're now playing inside that range for a continuation, right? This is so deceiving, especially on EU side. I bet you there's a ton of divergence forming, a ton of just pretty much basic signs of reversal. Let's see. Oops, what the hell is that? Yep. All right, divergence forming. Right, the divergence effect already occurred. So this momentum shift here, to me, will easily take out all of this. Right, and I've seen something similar happen before. Right, I've seen something like that happen. Let's see. You're gonna have to go way back on here. Trying to remember where this was. It's definitely before this. It was a post that we made a long time ago. Oh, right here. Perfect. Right, y'all remember? Do the old Visionaries members remember this? Right, when... Hold on, where the... Right here. What the hell is happening, man? Do you remember this? Let me go to a different time frame. Right, when everybody tried selling this here. Does anybody remember that? Does anybody remember when you saw everybody, right, from Fibs, right, to even Smart Money, everybody was selling this? Does anybody remember that? Yeah, I actually like was here buying these dips, right? I didn't buy this last dip, unfortunately. Um, but it's the same concept, right? Pretty much, I bet you there's hella divergence here. Hella divergence here. For the people that don't know Wyckoff, there'll be one drive, two drive, right? Preliminary supply, buying climax, up thrust, UTAD, right? LPSY, change of trend, right? Head and shoulders, right? That's exactly what people will be doing in that scenario. But what happened was the recovery into inefficiency here, right? To then obviously keep price, obviously structure intact to then continue higher, right? So you see your last two structural points, right? All this was a discount for continuation, right? And that was overall derived because obviously this momentum took out a ton of highs, right? And that all started from the unwillingness to continue lower here, right? This is now the break of structure, so now any continuation is fine, right? But it's technically the same concept, right? We see corrective structure form, we get the dip, and then we get the direction to the opposite direction, right? And that's what I see EU doing, right? Even though I still see potential POIs, right? Like obviously Quan's here, right? And that's still, obviously valid based off of structure, right? This can easily dip down there, right? But this is going to be pretty much the make it or break it for that scenario, because if this breaks, obviously that's going to be a structure break, and then now this quote unquote distribution is no longer valid, right? So going on from there, right, I've been trying to play that narrative the entire time, right? And the latest entry was here, right? This is what we talked about. I showed you some charts on that. But the reason why I was pretty much looking for that bullish move, for one, right, we see a large dip off right at the start of session, so that obviously leaves inefficient pricing. So I'm only looking for a reaction to at least give us that, so I'm enough to be break even, right? But for one, we see the momentum shift here, right? Remember, what's the main rule from structure that I tell you guys is pay attention to lower highs. Higher lows, I'm sorry. Right, pay attention to higher lows and uptrends and lower highs and downtrends. Right, as long as no higher low is taken, then structure only continues. Right, and that's exactly what happened here. Right, so I'm still in that mindset, right, that I'm trying to catch this continuation. Right, we have this potential, this potential momentum shift, right, and then we see the reaction also be kind of strong, right? But we then see a range start to occur, right? And now you see this struggling to give that next move down. So if structure is still bullish, right, I'm only going to look for the liquidity grab to then go higher, right? Because in theory, this just makes so much sense, because from an overall structure, this is your discount. And there's obviously high RR if you can catch a solid trade here, right? So when it also comes to reactions, right? This is heavy momentum. This is a falling knife. I am not trying to buy that, right? I'm trying to buy an educated scenario that gives me something, right? Because hold on, let me go back to the whole fractal nature, right? So this entire play, right? This entire play is that, right? Liquidity grab one side and then take it to the other, right? So since quote unquote price is fractal, right, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm doing the exact sorry, I'm doing the exact same thing here, right? That is what essentially analyzing tendencies are, right? And that's something that I've seen in EU as of recently, right? Range, liquidity grab, opposite move, right? And I've seen that throughout everything, right? I just showed you guys the EG scenario, right? That even though the momentum shifted for X amount of time, the narrative is still the upside. So structure still intact to the bullish, right? We just saw a large sell-off, right? But this large sell-off, right, started the reaction without taking out a previous level of structure, right? My structure is now intact, so I have every reason to buy, right? So as I said, we are now essentially in this range here, right? Obviously, I'm looking for something here or here, because it's obviously this is the discounted portion of this selected range. All right, so what do I see? I see potential SC here, and then I see potential SC here, right? Because there's obviously one last wick before that large upside move, so that means there's potentially something there, right? And then keep in mind too, this SC's already been played out, right? The only issue with this, right, with this whole narrative playing here, for when I didn't see it, and then two, if this was valid, right, this is already corrective nature, this would have essentially created the higher high, which it did, right, and only created a continuation, right? But what happened? We actually came back down, 90% retracement, then actually technically broke the structure here, right? All that is now is from the previous range, right? This is the premium. Now that shows an unwillingness to continue lower. That's now equal lows, right? So now I'm actually going to look left to find something, because price is here. We have equal lows. We have liquidity here because it's already been tested here. Right, what do we see here? Potential candle of interest. This is the final indecision before the move up. Right there. You can even zoom in. And guess what you now see? A potential SC here. Right, SC there. But I'm actually playing this entire thing here because this is only, what, a 2-pip candle? Yeah, less than 2 pips. Right, so I'm pretty much playing this 5-second SC that I'm going to show you guys again. I think I'm looking at this wrong. I swear I saw something different earlier. Right, so I'm not sure if it was a different broker on here, but I was seeing something different. But because in what I was seeing, this wasn't tapped, right? And I was actually playing the entire 15-second candle. Right, so I was playing this entire 15-second candle. Alright, we actually came down, and this would have been essentially the 50%, I believe. Yep, right at the 50% of that SC. Right, so even though that open was tapped, that 50% wasn't, but I took my position from that open. And as soon as we start seeing this move down with diminishing volume, that's all it is to create the reaction. Right, so the reaction occurs there. We're playing the narrative of the liquidity grab higher, right? So that reaction has already occurred. And I'm targeting, from an intraday perspective, I'm targeting previous equal highs here as an intraday. Let me delete these lines. All right, cool. So we then go from there. Right, the exact same thing that happened here, right? And that's what created this entire move to the upside. Right, so does that make sense? All right, and this is obviously trailing 45 to 1. Right, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy because this has potential to even take these out. Right, see that? The potential is there, right? You can potentially hedge around here. Just really depends on what time this hits, right? But that's essentially how that scenario was created. All started from structure, intraday structure maintained, right? Overall swing position bias is the same, right? So when they all line up and you find a scenario and find an excuse to play it, this is what happens. On the final one, EG. This one should, honestly, it's probably the same thing as EU, right? Even though we're in corrective structure, we're showing signs of bullishness, I still believe this can give us downside. And I really believe we can catch these equal lows here, right? So I'm only continuing the bias here. Right, continuations of structure, intraday basis, right, this move here, right, liquidity grab, don't consider that a structure break, structure still maintained, right, this is from that overall swing, and then this intraday breaks, right, we come back for a recovery, and then continue lower. We've now taken out this level of structure, so I should easily expect these levels of structure to continue. And essentially this move, right, was very hard to catch, right, because it was literally for seconds. I caught an entry like somewhere here, right, which isn't even where I wanted, right, because I was getting my initial POI from 15-minute, right, inefficient pricing here, zoom in, right? I'm now looking at at this wick here, right? This is the wick that essentially started that inefficient pricing. So right, that's the POI. That's what happened here, right? And if this would have been a pending, oh, this would have been really nice. Unfortunately, I don't do pendings. Three. And then our target being relative equal lows. Right, relative, they didn't take each other out. So that's the scenario there, right? That would have been 17. But this obviously still has the potential of taking out overall equal lows. And the potential is there. Right? So you're seeing these play out, and essentially I've been saying these for weeks now, right? So I already have a bias to play off of. I'm just looking for every excuse. You taking partials of bearish at C? No, I don't take partials of bearish at C because I'm usually pro trend. And I'm pro whatever my narrative is. So I only take partials at swing structural lows or intraday structural lows. Or structural points, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I see why people are selling EU. I see why people are buying dollar. Right. But you know how I am. Like to go against people's biases. But yeah, all these are continuations now, right? Now I'm hoping for this to take out full structure and then have this be the new structural range to have a continuation occur. Right? And as soon as we leave these overall ranges, that's when we're going to start seeing real trends, and that's when you see your high RRs, right? Because you can really pinpoint precisely exactly where price will go. So other than that, I think I'm done for today. There used to be this button here where you could click it and you can essentially like delete every single like drawing that there was. I don't know why they took that off, because now you have to delete everything individually. Super tedious. But yeah, you guys see the potential here. Right click the screen. Click the bin icon. Where's that? No, but I mean you can specifically take out whichever ones you want. Right, if you go to the old zooms, I'm pretty sure I do it on there. There was a button here, and then it says, and then it would say line, rectangle, short position, long position, and you could delete specific things, and you can just spam it. Oh, no way, that's so annoying. No, it's not here, is it? Is it? Oh, that's so annoying. That's irritating. Yeah, I'm noob. That's irritating. Oh well. Thank you, whoever said that. Wait, other than that, do you guys have any questions? Where's my phone? Yeah, I try to be straightforward. You guys know I don't like to rant. And then every Saturday, I literally wake up dead. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys can hear it in my voice. Like I'm not tired, but I sound dead. Like I'm not a morning person at all, but I somehow wake up at 6 every Monday through Friday. But yeah, other than that, I think we should end it off here unless you guys have questions. You just joined what? Is it recorded? Yeah. Should I mean it's recording right now. No worries, no worries. Yeah, I guess we'll end it off there.